Hello again, Marc Yaxley here. Want to thank Kevin Smith for allowing me to do another session with the YouTube videos. And today I thought we'd cover a technical endurance kind of test for us as a player. I notice classical music and jazz standards, sometimes these pieces last 10 minutes, 20 minutes. The great concertos are sometimes 30 minutes long. You're playing this long on the instrument. So it's, in my opinion, very important that you have the endurance to do that with this instrument. So there are so many things that we can do to enhance that physicality of playing. This is very difficult. I'm a believer that the headstock, if it's above your eyebrow, you have a very relaxed hand versus this side, which is opposing motion when people sit on the right leg. So I state that quite a bit with people because a lot of folks just don't believe in that. To me, it's one of the most important things is the position of the instrument, so that you can play a long length of time being relaxed and have the hands work for you instead of against you. I actually learned this exercise by studying with a cellist. He told me that this exercise is played on every stringed instrument. And what it is, it's 3 different fingerings. Each fingering is played 4 times. And what I'm going to do, if you want to write this down on a little notebook, I'm going to verbally tell you the numbers, meaning 1, 2, 3, 4. Index is 1 and 2, 3. Pinky is 4. So 1, 2, 3, 4. And the fingering, we're going to go up to the 9th fret and play a C sharp. And we're going to play this fingering of 1, 4, 3, 4. We're going to do that 4 times. The fingering again is 1, 4, 3, 4. Back to the pinky. I'm playing with a pick. However, you can do this with your index middle alteration. I do both. The next fingering is 1, 4, 2, 4. And we do that 4 times. The last fingering of the group of 3 fingerings is 1, 3, 2, 3. With this particular combination, we want to keep an eye on the pinky finger, the 4th finger, and we want to make sure it doesn't get too far away from the fingerboard. That happens naturally. It's always a struggle to keep it close. So we actually do lift when we play, but this will help get you closer to the fingerboard when you're actually playing your music, especially during improvisation. So here are the 3 fingerings played back to back. At this point, we've done each fingering 4 times. We're going to go descend this whole thing. So at this point, we just simply go back 1/2 step and play the 3 fingerings again. Four times. Again, shift back a 1/2 step, start over with the first fingering. So, I'm going to warn you, this sounds a little monotonous, but what we're trying to do is not miss one note and go all the way down to the first position of the guitar. So I'm going to do this for you, and I apologize, it is monotonous, but we expand this. later. And the sound of this is not really musical, but I just wanted to warn you, it's maybe you better be alone when you do it so you don't drive the dog crazy, or the people will leave the room. I've actually been told, will you please stop doing this? But it's for technical purposes, to get the pick in sync with the fingers and give you endurance to do something over and over and over for a long time. And then we'll expand this in a minute. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. My goal is to get every note perfect. I don't always make it. You'll notice when you get to the bigger frets you may miss, and that's okay, but that's the goal, is to play every note perfectly. Well, what we're going to do is take this exercise and just develop a few more activities with the same conception of the 3 fingerings being used. What makes the guitar playing difficult, in my opinion, is string crossing when the left hand also crosses the string. So what I'm going to do is take the first finger, the index finger, and simply do this fingering again, but I'm going to put the first finger on the G string instead of the E string where we were before. So now we have an octave. Tune a little. It's monotonous enough without being out of tune when you do it. So here again, we're taking the first finger and putting it on the G string. Second fingering, here's the third, half step back, and start over. So you can see where this is going, all the way to the end of the first position of the guitar. Now, we can also put that first finger on any other string. Here it is on the B string, and so on. Here it is on the D string, first finger. The pick is now crossing all the strings. You can play one fingering with the first finger on a given string and then transfer immediately, right after you play the first fingering. So it'd be this way. And then you can see where this is going. 3 fingerings, the combinations are endless. You can skip frets. Shifting and landing is a problem. Are you making the note happen when you have to shift to another position immediately? That's very difficult. So this exercise helps all of these moves that are insecure with, I know with me they are, and they've helped. And from what I was told by my cello teacher, these fingerings are used on all stringed instruments. With the cello, the violin, there's many different combinations. So be creative. If you want to, you can change the rhythm. This is just straight eighth. Here's the quarter note, 1, 2, 3, 4, the first subdivision. Now I'm going to change the rhythm a little bit. If we play it on the bass strings, this is all held down. The fingers, all the fingers are held down here. I like to refer to this shape in my hand as a fence. And if you can look through the fingers like the fence posts and see this part of your hand right there, you know you're on the tip of the finger. Again, this sitting position helps line this up this way in a relaxed feel. You're not doing this. Again, to the left, headstock above the eyebrow. You'll notice I don't have a footstool today, but I have a strap that keeps the guitar located in that position, and it's the same when I stand up. It's the same when I sit and when I stand. Nothing changes. This is drastically different on this side than it is here. So what happens, your anatomy memorizes these physics easier if you're only in one position. You get used to playing in a certain place and it never moves. I don't think any of us really get total command of this instrument, but this helps get us close. At least we have a chance to be physically sound on the tip of the finger and with good tone and relaxation. Here again, this. So again, it's an endurance exercise. Velocity, of course, is part of music. Go ahead and up the tempo. That kind of thing. And see if you can get it where it's fairly fast. Most of us have more speed with a flat pick than we do with index middle. So it's always a goal, and I always need improvement, to play quick motifs with IM alteration. Again, the sitting position is wonderful because when you play with two fingers, we tend to tilt the hand this way towards the guitar a little bit, so we play on the left of the nail. It gives us more speed versus if you're sitting on this side with the right leg, you get an arch in the shoulder. The nails sometimes come in the middle and you get a lot of resistance. So again, everything about this sitting position is helpful for playing with speed with relaxation. That's the hard thing, is to play quick and fast but be relaxed. So this first exercise will, of course, help many things we mentioned. String crossing, getting the pick in sync with the fingers, bringing the tempo up and being comfortable with fast tempos. Here is a 6-note kind of a chromaticism. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm relaxed. No matter how fast I play, I'm relaxed. It's not a big struggle to play with a lot of velocity if the sitting position is where you're aligned this way. It's just gravity works for you versus opposing into the body this way. This is very opposing. It's hard to see the notes. Here we have a relaxation no matter how fast I play. I'm relaxed. The head is even on the shoulders. We're not bending over looking. I don't know how much a human head weighs, but it's putting strain on the shoulders if you're bending over like this looking all the time and you're bound up. So I just offer that suggestion to think about alignment. Again, I always talk about this because I truly think it's the most important fact of playing with relaxation, especially quick tempos. This. So speed exercises, there's so many. Be comfortable with it. Be comfortable with velocity playing. A lot of times your teachers are telling you to slow it down, and I totally agree. But how do you know what it feels like to play at a high velocity unless you go over that? So do go over it. Put that metronome up and play quick and practice, and then go back to slow tempos, work it up. I think you know this already. Everything in life is like that. We do things slowly first, and then we get comfortable, and we can ad-lib the tempo. So what I want to do now is just go ahead and, if it's okay, to segue into another subject altogether. Maybe we'll seam all this together at the end with a piece of music, maybe not. See how I feel. We've done diminished studies in one of the videos, and I thought I had a request to go into Augmented by a family member who's a fine musician, and I'm going to do a little deep dive into augmented sounds. When you diminish something, you make it smaller, and when you augment something, you make it wider. You augment it, and that happens in tonality. Here is a C chord. Here is C augmented. It widened with the G sharp, the sound of the chord. G natural for C. I'm going to take that G natural and make it G sharp. And you can hear what happens. The augmented chord is usually used on a 5 chord in a given key. It's a substitute. For instance, C7 normally goes to F. What we're going to do, instead of playing normal C7 to a basic F chord, we're going to play the same progression with C augmented to F major 9, a little bit of spice decoration on the 1 chord. So here's C augmented to F major 9. I'm going to go back to the first one, basic C7 to basic F major, no real note enhancement. Now C augmented to F major 9. That's a 5-1 in the key of F. The augmented chord can be played in a scale fashion. The parent scale with augmented is whole tone, meaning no half steps. It's all whole tone. It's a fun scale to play, and it's a fun scale to hear. Here's an example of C augmented chord. Now the scale. It's whole steps, and it's very easy to memorize this because we're basically playing 1, 2, 4. That's 5 frets. Here again, that's sitting position. Very important. This is relaxed. That's a 5 fret stretch. It's very, very difficult to play without alignment. And to play this fast would be even more difficult. The alignment. It's not so hard with the alignment. And you can see it very clearly versus this where you're looking over all the time. Some people don't even know they're doing it. They don't even know they have an issue, and they wonder why things are difficult. It's because of the alignment. Again, I'll bring that up, not to be redundant, but I just truly believe that this is the most progressive way to play the guitar with alignment. So what we're talking about is a whole tone chord or an augmented chord. We're in the key of C. The chord itself is played like a F chord in first position, but moving it over to the inside strings. So F major, as we learned in book 1 of our guitar studies, we just move that over and play it off the 5th string with the same fingering. The chord can be played as a scale in whole steps. I'm just improvising a little bit, moving it not in a scale fashion. The root or the name of the chord is on the 5th string. In this case, it's C. Here's the scale again, whole tone. Now, 2 other ways to play the chord. We all know A minor, if we've played a little bit. Beautiful chord. We're going to move that shape, the A minor fingering, over to the top 3 strings and put a 4th finger or a pinky on the D string. In this case, that note is F on the 3rd fret on the D string. So this is F aug, or F augmented. Okay, you're okay with that? It can be played with a scale fashion. Another way to play an augmented sound is with the pinky being the root. I'm going to go back to the key of C. Here's this chord here. I'm going to play it this way now. It's the same exact notes, but now we're using the low E string. Here it is, the first way that we talked about a few minutes ago with the 3rd finger playing the root on the 5th string. In this case, it's C augmented. Here are the same notes played this way with a 4, 3, 2, 1 fingering. Pinky, 3rd finger, 2nd finger, 1st finger. So we have 2 roots, as we did here. Again, the chord can be played in a scale fashion. That's with the pinky playing the root. The root is on the D string. Again, that's coming from an A minor shape, but we're removing the fingers and putting the first 3 fingers on the top 3 strings to make this character of augmented. In this case, it's F augmented. So again, that's a hard one to remember for some people. Just think A minor, basic A minor, and move the fingers over to the top 3 strings and add the pinky to the D string. And you will have an augmented character. I'm going to shrink this augmented chord down a little more, just to the top 3 strings. And it's a little shape of barring 3 strings and then adding 3rd finger on the D string, a whole step past the bar, and then on top is a second finger conveniently located right there. This is a tiny little triad of augmentation. Here's C augmented the way we did it 5 minutes ago. This is also C augmented. I'm going to add a little bit of technique utilizing a hammer-on. A hammer-on is when we pick the note first and let the finger hammer the next note. This is B flat to C. And the pick is now playing the remainder of this little triad chord. I'm crossing over and I'm going to the B string too. I'm in the key of C. If we're okay with that, I'm going to go on to another conception of C augmented. If I play a C minor 7 flat 5 with the root on the 5th string, this chord is fingered like a diminished chord on the inside strings. As we remember from last session, the diminished chord is a 1, 2, 3, 4 on the top 4 strings. 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm moving that shape over to the 5th string, and I'm playing C minor 7 flat 5. Well, the subject here is C augmented. I'm going to raise my pinky to an E natural. I'm playing a whole tone scale with this shape. There's C augmented. Now, with the C minor 7 flat 5 shape, with the one alteration, the pinky moves to the E natural. I know that's a lot of verbal, so I'm going to really play it for you and let you hear what's happening. All I'm doing here is playing a C minor 7 flat 5 chord, raising the pinky a half step. This will function as C augmented. I'm going to employ all these things we've done now in the last 6 or 7 minutes. C augmented. For an example, as we talked about the augmented chord being utilized on the 5 chord of a given key, the first chord, I believe the tune Stardust, is C augmented. The first chord is augmented. Building an intro around the 5 chord is very effective. The audience really doesn't know what you're going to play yet. Experiment around with intros. In this case, a C augmented intro. Tune. these are little spices that can add some depth and rhythm spice to your standard arrangements. They're just sounds that help build a harmonic interest in the audience's ear, and it's fun to do. You learn about chord tones, you learn about scales and scales that go with chords, and how to improvise with them. So that's what we've basically done here today, is combine two things: technique, and we did a deep dive into augmented sounds on the guitar. Whole tone, augmented. Two words: whole tone scale, augmented chord. Is it possible to superimpose diminished ideas over augmented? Debatable, but we covered a half-whole diminished scale. Is it safe to say that we could employ a half-whole diminished scale over an augmented terrain, harmonic terrain of augmented? Here's C augmented, I'll let you be the judge. That's C augmented, and here is a half-whole diminished scale played from a G flat. The chord, I'm playing it from G natural. Doesn't quite work, does it? You might have to alter it. But this scale is so much fun to play, I'm going to start on a G flat. There it works a little. Augmented, half-whole, diminished scale from G flat. That works for me. So it is possible, debatable, you don't have to like it, but to me that works. So I make a note of that. Sometimes in music, things that are theoretically impossible sound good. It's just the way it is, and it's debatable. Not everybody hears the way you hear, and not everybody hears the way I hear. But I do believe that resolutions are what solve the problem. How do you resolve into the chord you're improvising with? And this is constant experimentation. Lots of time spent. So be creative in your thought. Be open-minded about things. Is it possible to look at chords and see two or three other solutions that we could call these chords different? Let's take an example and let's look at the chord that we all play in blues and jazz and country music. It's just the simple ninth chord. I say simple, some people have problems because of the barring, and we'll talk about that too. But here it is. It's root, third, and 3-3-3, meaning three strings with the third finger. The notes are C, E, B flat, D, and G. The pinky's left over for decoration. Now, I'm going to take the root out, meaning to remove the second finger, and just look at the notes I'm playing on the top half of the chord. I'm playing E, B flat, D, and G. Well, that constitutes E minor 7 flat 5. So what does that tell us? Well, if we just holistically look at all this, that tells us that if we play a E minor 7 flat 5 arpeggio, that's a lot of words, but here it is, that will fit over C9. How did I arrive at that? Just looking at the physics of the chord and naming the notes and realizing that arpeggios are extremely important for making a non-scale sound. It's more melodious. So It's essential to know all characters of arpeggios. You can see where this is going. If I take the first finger out of this chord and just play the top 3 notes, your ear should tell you that's a minor chord. That's just G minor. So that tells me that a G minor scale will fit over C9, as well as E minor 7 flat 5 will also fit over C9. The C9 is a dominant 7th chord. It's in every tune you play. I would say that. Maybe not every, but most of them. A dominant 7th chord. So here are 3 devices and ways of thinking on facts that work over this particular terrain of dominant 7th or C9 with just looking at the shape of the chord. I'm not really talking heavy music theory here. I'm just looking at the shape of the chord, removing a note and calling it something else. To review, this is C9, this is E minor 7 flat 5, this is G minor. All of these scales of all 3 of these chords will work against C9. It's movable. This chord is movable. So take a few minutes each day and analyze that. What is happening on the fingerboard when you just look at the shape, name your notes, and apply it to a tune that you're playing? I highly suggest you keep the music in front of you at all times. The lead sheets that you're studying, have a good red erasable pencil because you're going to be making notes. If you're into this and being thorough and remembering all this. As we age, we forget things. I know I do. Every player I've talked to has trouble remembering so many things because we're improvising. I keep the music in front of me on the gig, and I keep the music in front of me on the lessons. I keep the music in front of me when I'm practicing, and notice I don't have the music in front of me right now. What happens is that you can retain a lot if you do this daily. Keep the music in front of you. You'll get a sense of freedom. It won't always be there. You'll always have doubt, but if you keep the chart in front of you and read the rhythms and the melody every day of what the composer wrote, you will have a springboard for ideas that will be accurate with what this man wrote or this woman wrote. The composer. It really does help. I'm thinking right now of improvisation and how we can get a portable way of thinking. This is extremely difficult, to be the technician and the composer at the same time. And it has to happen down to nanoseconds. It has to happen immediately. Music is like a river, and it won't wait on you. You've got to be on top of it, and so this peripheral thinking has to go on all the time. And we will continue with that on other tunes, other subjects. I notice when people play sometimes, they have no actual plan of action for how they end the song. Well, an ending is important because it leaves the audience with, this is over. They realize then that this is a closed deal and it's time to clap or not. I'm going to play a simple arpeggio, E minor, and not really caress it in any way, just play the notes. I'll do that again. Now, I'm going to pretend like this is the ending of a song, and I'm going to add a technique, rallentando, a gradual slowdown and more of an atmospheric kind of emotional type of feel. Almost like a melancholy sadness. That silence at the end is important. It's part of the music. Here it is again. part of the music. That's what makes most people go, well, something just happened, you know. So I'm asking you, basically, do you think about this when you practice? That's a technical field. It's totally different than this. It's physical, and it has to be rehearsed. Make them wait. Make them wait for that last note. That really comes true on a CD. When you record that way, the CD picks that up, and it's a real event. This is an event. My father used to say, make every note a concerto. A concerto is the biggest work that we have in music, right? It's your time to shine. Be thinking about that when you play this instrument as a soloist, or even with an ensemble. It's marvelous when you have musicians that think this way, because they know the plan of action. You can discuss this with your musicians. How do you want to end this song where we cause an aesthetic, emotional effect with 8 fingertips? We're not dancing, we're not telling jokes, we're not singing. We have 8 fingertips to make them react. This to me is a chop. You know how they say, he's got great chops. How many of you work on that chop of atmosphere, aesthetic experience when you play the guitar? It can happen with a kazoo. It can happen with a harmonica. Are you thinking about it when you practice? And are you practicing the physicality of these moves? Right now we're talking about rallentando, a gradual slowdown. And it's a good way to end.